Did you explain the thing I was telling you about? Excellent. Oh my god. Put his own little spin. That's what happened. I know, because my mouse stopped working. Are you shitting me? There will. Just gotta reboot my Linux machine. I can't explain it until we're officially broadcasting. Yeah. Save it for the show. Nor as famous. Where's that? Where did my filters go? Oh, that's nice. That is... Okay. Oh, wow, that's not good. Well, I will have to manage. That's going to be a fascinating problem to fix later. I don't know how that's going to work. Amazingly enough, my mouse has a button on the bottom that switches between which computer it's connected to. So it will actually continue to work. I just have to push that button every time I want to switch to something I'm doing. Yeah. Same one, yeah. I believe I fumbled something with X input. All right. Yes, you probably are. Default save settings. Just did. Yeah. Yeah. This will be fun. um, I don't actually. I don't have that scene now. I must not have backed up when I made that new scene. So let's.
You are listening.
One, two, coming off the top, y'all know how we do. Listen, I'ma drop a freestyle.
At another date, we'll have to fix that. Somewhere. I don't have Slack on this machine. Okay, I'll download Slack. Just start the show. If you put it in Dropbox, where are you putting it? How is that even possible?
Discord. While you do that, I will grab this file. Hello?
Can you guys
Can you
guys hear us now? I think Tom's trying to take over the show.
That's the problem. Is I did take over the show.
We're getting pushed out, Eric.
I know. I knew it was going to happen eventually. A revolt.
Alrighty.
Yes. All right. Thank you, Buttery. Now my file. All right. Audio has been restored. Now my file explorer is not launching. This is awesome.
Oh, man. This is already, within the first 10, 15 minutes we've been on, is already a better show than last week's.
I don't know. Did you listen to the audio? I cleaned that stuff up, man. We sound professional as hell after I cleaned it up. Okay, Thomas. I'm dropping this in that extras folder right now.
It felt so rough.
It definitely did, but you know, it was all.
One, two, coming off the top, y'all know how we do. Listen, I'ma drop a freestyle you can cherish. I'ma send a shout out to the host named Eric. Yo, he's never on some average shit. You know Eric, he stays loud and passionate. I'm about to break it down for y'all with the clever song. Yo, shout the host named Thomas, cause he's never wrong. Yo, shout to John, you know that he's smart and quiet, unlike my freestyles, which cause a riot. I'm about to do it like this, cause the people love me. Shouts out to PHP, the ugly. It's called ugly cause it's not professional, but I'm about to come through and bless it with style. So let's do it when I'm spitting, I perfume the room. Yo, the segment of the show is called Doom and Gloom. That came from Thomas. Yeah, can nobody go beyond this? I get the mic and then I'm about to keep it like a promise. Yeah, and y'all know we fill them up with anguish. We talking about the PHP, the programming language. About to break it down, no exaggeration. What do y'all do for a living? Web applications. Okay, I can dig it. My words spray tight. They getting together on the Thursday nights. Yeah, when it comes to rhyming, you can call me the new dude. I spew true lyrics while y'all broadcast on YouTube. So let's get it. You know my lyrics are major. All up in the comments, they got plenty of haters, but they doing what they doing. Keep it ugly. We ending every show with the saying it's lovely. Let's go. Hey, shout out to y'all. Peace to the whole squad.
Let's go.
Let's go.
Let's go.
Okay, are we all good to go here, Thomas?
That's the current working theory, yes.
Thumbs up in the Discord if you're hearing us. I'm just going to kick into the show. If you're not hearing us, then, do a thumbs down.
Throw hearts in the chat if you can hear us.
Yeah.
It's throw hearts in.
Something. I don't know if we'd see those, but okay. All right, we're going to kick it off. You're listening to episode 223 of PHPUgly, and we're opening a coffee shop. We're calling it Vim Brew, and as you may expect, it will be open 24/7 because no one will know how to close it. I'm your host, Eric Van Johnson, and with me, John Congdon.
Oh, I love it. When are we opening?
To my left, Thomas right up.
Hello.
Thomas,
Everything's fine.
we've had a very rough start.
I had a rough day.
We've had a. Can you bring us up to speed? What's happening right now? Why all this craziness and last minute transferring of files and putting scenes together?
Well, do you remember a couple months ago I was telling you I was having hard drive problems, and I was replacing my old 6-year-old spinning disk drive with an SSD. So
I do recall
I did that this morning.
Yeah, day of the show makes sense. Perfect. Yeah.
My system last night decided it was going to go up to 100% disk usage, just idling, because the error rate on it was so bad that trying to do anything with the computer was a complete loss. And I was put in the situation of cancel the show or reinstall Windows this morning. And actually, as bad as things went on, the podcast starting up, it did only take me 45 minutes to get everything up and running. Like from the moment I turned the computer off to the moment that my whole system was back up and running with all of my software restored.
Except, the mouse doesn't work, the mic
That
doesn't
just
work,
started
all this
happening.
other weird
You're
stuff happening.
missing scenes from OBS.
Okay. None of that's my fault.
Oh,
You
you
said
were
you don't have
going
Slack.
for the hero. You were going for the hero angle here. Like, hey, it only took me 45 minutes to get my Windows box back up and running.
Yeah, and for some reason...
Oh, sorry about
And
that.
you did say all of my software, but while setting up, you said you didn't have Slack working.
Well, Slack is on
Hello?
a different machine, which normally would be fine. but the mouse buttons don't work when I move over to that machine. So
I don't know what I'm going to do with you, man. I don't know what I'm going to do with you.
whatever it is, I'm probably doing it to myself.
I know we're a PHP ugly talk show where we talk about PHP, and we have some news on that. But I am drooling over here, looking over John's shoulder. John, you got a new toy.
I have a very bad business partner that is as bad with money as I am, and he's like, I said, I'm looking at 3D printers. I was looking at them already. Eric happened to say, I have things I want to print. I'm like, oh yeah, that's for the business, and we now have a new Diego Dev 3D printer.
Absolutely, makes perfect sense. Tracks for me.
I spent a lot of time looking, and this thing, I don't have a lot of experience in unboxing 3D printers, but oh my gosh, this thing is packed so well. The way it's shipped and the steps to put it together, the quick start guide it comes with is so pretty and well laid out, and I had it put together fairly quickly, probably less than an hour.
That doesn't make sense. Thomas took a month and a half to put his together.
To be fair, he bought all the parts individually.
Yeah, mine was in pieces.
So I realize this won't do anything for the audio listeners of the podcast, but have you printed anything cool?
I have. So it comes with a test file. So I printed a nice little vase.
That is so cool.
Looks cool. I've printed.
So is it actually hollow inside? Like it just printed hollow inside?
Yep.
Wow.
Yeah. It's great. I've printed a little for my kids' Hot Wheel tracks. They misplaced a connector, so I printed a new connector to kind of hook those two together. And in the middle of a print for my wife for Valentine's Day, and all I have is black filament right now. So I'm like, maybe I'll go hit it with some spray paint if I can find some.
I don't see why.
So how well, like I watch a lot of 3D printers. I've never had one. Is it like that vase looks pretty smooth? Like does it print like it's like?
Yeah, I mean, you can definitely tell some ridging. Like if I were to.
Oh, okay. I already hear that.
But for the most part, it's not bad. It's pretty smooth. I'm very impressed with, like I said, how it got.
What model is that? You want to share brand model?
It's a snap maker.
Snap maker, nice.
Wait, is that the 3-in-1?
It is.
Oh,
that was my requirement for him. I'm like, hey, if you're going to get it, we need to do etching too. Like I wanted to etch things.
It's got a laser engraver and a CNC module on it.
Yeah, man.
I haven't tried the other two because reading the manual it got me scared. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna order the enclosure now.
Yeah, they'll scare you.
Although they ship with it, they send you goggles for the laser mode and then a separate pair of goggles for the CNC mode. To
well, the ones that really matter are the laser mode. Those laser goggles are very important.
Yeah. Although it's a pretty low power laser compared to other laser cutters.
Yeah, but that just means
it's only
a half a second instead of a millisecond.
Yeah. Is it a Jewish laser, John? Have you
space
checked?
laser?
Oh yeah, I heard about that.
Let's assume. Let's just assume.
Politics. Listen to you.
It's not politics. Crazy.
Well,
I'm very impressed with it.
Yeah, that's it's interesting to see how much our industry and how much tech is playing into. And we've known for a while how much it's been playing into politics with the previous president being a little, social media whore, and then getting booted off. But the impeachment trials going on, so much of the evidence being presented are social media posts by the people who
are
it's
incriminating
crazy
themselves is fascinating.
Yeah. Yeah. So, it's our industry is everywhere. I mean, that's one of the cool things about what we do, is it touches just about every aspect of life. Oh, all right.
I have not been following the news this week, so I don't know what's going on currently.
I can't stop
Boy, do I
watching.
have some interesting news for you.
Really. What is that?
I was doing my usual pre-show research this week, which
Oh, is that a thing? Am I
no,
supposed to be
this
doing
is-
that?
That's just what I do. And part of it is always reading the PHP annotated blog posts that come out every month from PHP Storm. And
Our buddies at JetBrains.
yeah, and this is JetBrains, the #1 IDE for PHP development, and
Obscure
Ukrainian
company. Yeah.
And I was going through it all, and it's got some great resources, some good stuff we're going to talk about later. And I get all the way to the bottom, the very, very, very bottom, and it says notable podcasts this month.
Oh, he's building up the tease.
It has the PHP Internal News podcast and
great podcast, by the way,
and some unheard of podcast called PHPUgly.
Really?
It has 2 of the episodes listed that we released last month, or this month, I guess. And yeah, someone up there in JetBrains land actually listens to us. The article was written by Roman Pronsky. I don't know if he actually listens to us. And upon discovering that we were listed for some reason in the JetBrains newsletter, I wet myself and then went to sleep.
The weird part is there's only those two
only
listed.
those
It's
two.
not like we're not listed with 20 other PHP
Roundtable's
podcasts.
Not there. The Laravel snippet.
PHP podcast.
Obviously, JetBrains doesn't know what they're doing.
It's
That's my take.
Clearly, somebody needs
Yeah.
to tune that
it's
AI a
plan
little bit.
to take their stock somehow. It's this cancel culture thing. They're trying to get canceled because someone shorted JetBrains.
It was funny because I had gotten on a call with Thomas earlier to help him with this setup. You see how well that went, and he's like, "Hey, did you see the link I posted in Slack?" I'm like, "Yeah, the PHP Storm annotations. Yeah." I know, right? Cool, right? I'm like, "What?" Yeah, I mean, it's a blog. They do it all the time, dude. You didn't see. So then, of course, he had to sit there and let me like scroll over it like 4 or 5 times. I'm like, I don't see what you're talking about. He's like, hey, look at the bottom. Now hold it up to a mirror.
Scroll down for half an hour, and then you'll see it at the very bottom. It's below the footer.
Yeah. But it did feel good to see. It's always good to see PHPUgly pop up. Like, it happens every so often. It doesn't happen too. My favorite thing is when somebody's like, "Hey, I'm putting together a list of PHP podcasts. Anybody have any suggestions?" And all the norms come out there, and we always have like that one soldier out there. It's like
buttery.
PHPUgly, you dorks.
Buttery.
No, it bounces around. Buttery pops in there a few times. Recently, it was somebody else. I forgot who it
Buttery's
was.
our PR manager.
Yeah, I don't know. Dimitri gives him a run for his money. Dimitri is a much more aggressive social media PR hound for us. He makes sure our name gets out there constantly.
What are we up to? Like 215 subscribers now. Speaking of which, hit that subscribe button.
Well, yeah.
Right
So
there.
for YouTube, we're up to 200 something, but our weekly episodes are picking up about 500 downloads on the podcast. So like
Mhm.
we're way more popular than I'm comfortable with. So from now on, I will be
You decided to start wearing
I'll be
pants.
using a kitten filter over my video, just in case.
I'm not a
I'm not a
kitten.
kitten.
That was so funny the way that ended with him saying that.
It was so sad.
Uh, if you don't know what we're talking about, I'm sorry. It was hilarious. What was it? A couple lawyers and a judge got onto a Zoom call, and one of the lawyers had a kitten filter, and he
Well,
didn't know how
and
to
they're
turn it
all
off.
like in their 70s, so they're like calling their nieces and nephews over, and they're like, "Is the filter on my end, or like which?" I believe your video is a kitten filter. Yes, I'm speaking with my assistant about that right now. I am not a kitten.
I'm prepared to move forward. I'm not a kitten. I'm not a kitten.
The way John started that, it sounded like some sort of joke. It's like 3 lawyers in a Zoom call. Three lawyers start a Zoom call. One of them's a kitten.
I've gone crypto crazy again.
Oh dear.
Yeah. With the whole Dogecoin thing, which I will have a disclaimer for in a minute. It's gotten my interest back up. Things have really changed in the crypto world since I last was into it, which has been a couple years now, and boy, it is fascinating. But one of the big things is the IRS. The IRS really took notice of crypto and basically cracked down on it completely. So if you're moving,
I wonder how.
basically if you're trading crypto 4 times within a month, then you have to register as a day trader. Yeah.
Really? What?
Binance is one of the big trading platforms for crypto, and they actually have to have their own U.S. domain for all of their U.S. customers, and then they have Binance.com for the rest of the world, because the legal team at the IRS cracked down on them so hard and basically said, you're going to have to report everybody's actions to the IRS. And so if they're going to trade, they have to have a physical address and social security number registered, and you have to do all this stuff. So trading on those markets is a rough entry. And it took me a week and a half to get approved on the Binance market.
Oh wow.
Do you think they did that because they have a U.S. based company or employees? Otherwise, why would they have to?
Because
Right. Why would they
the
care?
U.S. will crack down on foreign companies allowing illegal trading of American assets.
It's not illegal
Well, no,
trading
but
them.
it is now.
Nothing
If
illegal
you're-
about it.
It is now.
Huh?
If you're not reporting it, because trading,
How?
the trading systems, they always reported to the IRS already. But the crypto systems didn't report to the IRS. So once they reclassified crypto as stock, then these trading platforms are now actually participating in stock market trades. So it's a regulatory nightmare, and it gets real messy when you start looking at stable coins and tokens, which are on the same network, but you trade them, and that counts as trading a stock, even if it's on the same network. Valueless coins, things like that. So there's a lot going on, and all of the crypto systems right now basically have a here's how you sign up, here's how you file your taxes series of links. So it is cool. Getting into it's cool. I've learned how to read candlestick charts, how to do staked positions and options and things like that. I'm not messing with that kind of stuff a whole lot. Doing a lot of technical analysis for coins and seeing what I believe the future is. And that's kind of where we get into Dogecoin. So the big thing that everyone's been talking about the last couple weeks is Doge. And I remember when it first started, I was like, that's cool. I'm really into it. It's a meme coin. It's just a joke. But my understanding of it just went as far as like, yeah, the name is a joke. It doesn't like have a practical purpose or anything like that. But the reality is that on a very technical level, it is a joke. Like the joke goes all the way to the actual code of the program of the blockchain. Dogecoin produces a massive payout per block and has a massive upper limit of total coins that can be produced. So when you buy a coin on Doge, it instantly gets devalued by the next block that gets mined. Because the resource, the amount of coins available is constantly going higher and higher and higher. With something like Litecoin or Bitcoin, they have an upper limit of coins that'll be produced ever. There's going to be a time in a few years where that limit gets hit and no more coins are mined whatsoever. And it also has a very stable, slow rate of generating coins. So when you look at the market availability and the demand, you can say, here's demand, here's availability, here's where they meet in the middle and balance out. But with Dogecoin, availability will always outpace demand no matter what, because there's such a massive amount available. And there are wallets that contain 20% of the total coinage of the chain, which is a massive disruption to the market if someone wants to sell it or move it. So Dogecoin right now, I think it's at like 6.5, 7 cents. It might get to 10 cents at some point, but then it will immediately crash down again. It's this idea of Dogecoin going to $1 is total fiction. There's no way it can actually happen, because people would have to be investing huge amounts of money. And if Dogecoin went to $1 at its current market cap, it would be more money than all of the other coins combined.
John, can you just please note the date and time he said Dogecoin would never go to $1, so that when it goes to $1, we can say, hey, remember when you said this? If you had bought Dogecoins, you'd be a billionaire right now.
Well, that was the thing, is that my friend did buy Dogecoins because he was already in a market that had his credit card and authentication stuff. When I went to go buy Dogecoin, it had gone from 3 cents to 8 cents by the time I got verified, so I decided to do my research. And basically, you go to the Dogecoin subreddit, and 90% of the posts are like, yes, to the moon, we're the best, everything's fun and great. But like, a good portion of the posts are like, listen, you guys need to understand the technical issues here. Don't put your life savings in this, because technically 10 cents is the highest it will ever go. Because as soon as it hits 10 cents, people have stop limit orders to dump 1 billion coins onto the market, literally 1 billion coins onto the market. So like, it's not gonna happen. It can't happen. And that was my start of getting into the research for all of the other coin stuff. How pegged coins work, coins that are against $1 or against a Chinese yuan, things like that. Why those exist, how you use them. It's cool stuff. And then in the midst of all this, Bitcoin is shooting through the roof, and so is Ethereum. But I told you guys I went through my wallet and I found like 40 cents worth of Ethereum. I tried to transfer that to my trading account. The transaction fee for that 40 cents was $22. Because it turns out that Ethereum has a scaling problem.
You just don't understand finances, Tom.
Ethereum right now has a exploded gas price. So yeah, if you want to transfer anything, you're talking like a minimum of $20 to just move it from one wallet to another. Tokens,
Wow.
the ERC20 tokens that all of this distributed investment stuff, the DeFi and the DEX stuff is built on. That was earlier this week upwards of $120 to transfer tokens.
Jeez, I'm remembering how much I hated when you guys talked about bitcoins.
I can't believe Bitcoin's up to 47,000.
Elon Musk or Tesla bought $1.5 billion worth of Bitcoin, which is just crazy.
He's going to send it to Mars. He needs something to finance the banks on Mars, man. He's going to send it up there.
What's interesting about that is that gives him a very strong leverage over the market. And people were wondering why Tesla didn't get into the Bitcoin game earlier, which someone had actually talked a dealership into accepting Bitcoin at one point. So he bought a Tesla Model S out of Bitcoin. Unfortunately, that Bitcoin is now valued at $4.1 million. So,
it's an expensive car. Teslas aren't cheap, man.
No, they're not. That didn't even cover maintenance. But now, now that the accounting department has Bitcoin, when they start seeing fluctuations in the market, they can actually adjust those fluctuations by selling and buying more.
You've got 15 fucking more seconds to talk cryptocurrency, and you better have some PHP shit. Bring some PHP to the table. Jesus Christ, man.
PHP 8.1 is coming out. Is getting RFCs approved.
That's good to hear. What about version statistics, Thomas? Are you aware of any statistics?
This is interesting. So I was looking all this stuff up, version wise, because we were having the conversation about WordPress and inexperienced users using PHP, saying that not all PHP users are developers, which I still think is stupid.
I remember that.
But Packagist.
You think that statement's stupid? You calling me
No, it wasn't
stupid?
You. Packagist, because they rely entirely on Composer, can gather stats about what PHP versions are running every time you run Composer. So they released some stats last year, or I guess like a year and a half ago now. And they see adoption very successful. PHP 7.3 was at 30%, 7.2 was at 27.5%, 7.4 was at 20%, 7.1 was at 11.6%. And you start getting down to the PHP 5 versions. PHP 7 has 93% of the market for Packagist. Now they acknowledge that they're leaning on the fact that this is modern development pipeline, but
that's exactly what I was about to say. I think those are very misleading because all the developers who are on the older versions of PHP aren't using Composer.
Well, I'm guilty of being part of that PHP 5.6 5%. I have a 5.6 application. Application out there that does use Composer. I'm actually started today trying to test it in 7.4.
7.4. Well,
yep. It didn't go well, but I at least started. I installed 7.4 on the machine.
This ended poorly.
The code is so bad. It's so old and bad.
We
Poorly
have some
written.
cool PHP stuff coming up. I didn't realize that the array unpacking stuff didn't work if there were string keys in the array. So if it was like name equals Tom, date of birth equals whatever.
I saw something on the list,
Yeah.
right? Yeah.
The main reason it didn't work is because they didn't want to have the fight when they were accepting this for 8.0 to which version of array merging are you going to use when two arrays collide? So Nikita Popov, the famous Nikita Popov, said, well, here's my opinion. We use array merge, the end. And submitted that RFC, got 100% accepted vote, which I've never seen, but yeah, 100% accepted vote. We also got inheritance cache, not an area I understand at all. It's a very technical thing about how classes are linked to each other and how inheritance between classes is instantiated and cached back and forth. However, Dmitry Stogov wrote this pull request and submitted it to PHP, and his pull request added an 8% performance on Symfony's Hello World app, just out of thin air. So I believe you can expect 8.1 to just have a, for no good reason, 8% performance increase. There's your PHP news. Are you happy, Eric?
I'm much happier, thanks. I feel like I'm trying to add that. I'm trying to do our show notes to the Discord.
I'm liking that you're doing that. I noticed it.
Yeah. Oh, I did. So last week, I do all the post-show production stuff. I edit this audio down to the audible version of the podcast. I get everything published. One of the things that took the longest amount of time were the show notes. I mean, I don't do like detailed show notes, but essentially I just go to our Trello board, I grab all the cards, and I grab their links. Wow, if I could just finish the story, it'd be fantastic. So I was talking about it a couple of weeks ago about how this was so difficult. So Tom mentioned, he's like, hey, I think Trello has some APIs, and he found them and posted them in our Slack. And so I built a little bot to build the show notes for us. And last week was the first time I got to use it, and it worked flawlessly.
Nice.
So I was very happy. I wanted to thank you for that idea, Thomas. Now what I need to do is I need to get the APIs for all of the things that I do before the show. So I go into Restream and I change the titles. I go into Trello and I create a column for the show. I need to write a little script to automate all that, and I'll have a good chunk of the show stuff automated.
Well, if Thomas is just solving issues left and right, I could really use the keys to the US Mint. Not saying why, but that would be nice.
You got a 3D printer, John. Just print.
Come on, you've seen Mr. Robot. You know how this works.
You just you get a picture of photographs of somebody carrying the key, and then you just print it. That's how it works now.
That's actually been tested and did work. Yeah.
It doesn't surprise me. Why am I not surprised by that?
If you 3D print a mold and then use that mold to cast a metal key, but even
that would make
plastic
more
key
sense.
Really doesn't take much.
I used to have a plastic key for my car.
Yeah, that you put it in your wallet. You kept it in your wallet. Yeah, I had one of those for my Camaro. Yeah. I never had to use that, fortunately.
Cars don't even have keys.
I know. Mine does.
God world.
This is as far in the future as I want to go. I don't need flying cars. I wouldn't mind teleportation, but I can't get my head around how that would actually work. I still stand by the fact that you're killing one body and regenerating another body.
You're killing yourself and the clone lives on.
Exactly. I'm not happy with that thought. So I'm okay without teleportation. I'm good, man. I'm far enough in the future.
I've always been bothered by the fact that Star Trek didn't address this issue because they've done, since it became like a philosophical thing, they've had new seasons, new shows, new series, movies, but they've never talked about the invention of the teleporter and how much that would fuck up society, like just psychologically, materially, just all of a sudden Angkor Wat is overrun with tourists because it's a $5 trip to anywhere in the world you want to go. Like everything would be destroyed. The planet would be evenly distributed with humans burning everything.
That's my argument for Marvel's end games. It's like, okay, I get it. The snap happened. Half the world disappeared. You can't just bring them all back.
I know you haven't
like,
been
people
watching.
have moved
I know
on
you
with
haven't
their
been watching
lives.
WandaVision then.
I have not. I tried.
Stop! I haven't. I haven't
I
yet.
tried like the first 2 shows. I'm like, I can't do this.
The first 4 episodes are establishing a greater issue.
I've got people saying it's good. That I need to watch it. Like
Really?
It's very good, and it is the first Marvel attempt at the unsnapping situation and how bad that is as well.
So once I get through my series of the Magicians, then I will switch over to
the
that.
last 2 seasons
Of WandaVision?
No, of the Magicians.
Or the Magicians.
I mean,
oh, really? I'm on. I think I'm on near the end of 3, going into 4.
4 is great.
And there's only 5 seasons. I think there's only 5 seasons.
Is 3 in the library or not? Okay.
Yes.
So yeah, it kind of goes poopty after that.
What's the Magicians? I don't know.
It's like if Harry Potter was
It's a
full of alcoholics.
Netflix show. Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
Or like, adults or like college students. Basically like, hey, yeah, magic exists now. What bizarre ways will wizards have sex? Gross. And what happens if, like, wizards don't take it seriously and just start fucking with normal people for fun?
What happens if you kill a god? Yeah.
So, John, you mentioned how we kind of called in last week's show. We kind of sandbagged it and didn't do that great on the live stream. All 3
of us fell asleep at one point.
And I said, I cleaned it up on the audio podcast. I don't know. Did I say that on the show or did I say that before the show? Oh, okay. So I am restating myself. I will have to say, so we're talking about automation and a lot of my editing of the podcast now, because we all have pretty good mics, because we're using Zencaster and it keeps our tracks lined up really good. I've been able to automate a lot of the editing of the podcast. And one of the steps I do is to trim out gaps of silence, like large gaps of silence. It usually knocks about, and all in all, it typically knocks 5 to 8 minutes off of our podcasts. And then I can start cutting it down. Last week, it like knocked out 45 minutes of the podcast. Like, I think the entire podcast ran 45. It might have been our shortest audio podcast to date. It was like 45 minutes long.
That's a dangerous tool. Like, you have to tweak it to get it to sound right. Otherwise, people start cutting into each other, and like,
I've got it dialed in so well now, and I'm still too paranoid to do it after. So ideally, I would go through and edit the podcast, because sometimes I silence somebody's track or I'll cut out some background noise, and then I should run the truncate silence. But I got bit too many times where I would get choppiness through the podcast. So now I do it before I edit the actual podcast. and then I go through and start editing it so I know I don't have that choppiness that you're talking about.
Why do you think you should do it that way? Like, what's your reasoning for doing it afterwards?
Because when I'm editing the podcast, I'm creating more gaps. I'm creating more silences because like sometimes there'll be like a 4 or 5 second silence, but Thomas is doing something in the background that's creating some noise. So I now go through and I manually edit those out, as opposed to just letting the software take care of it. But I've got my truncate silence configuration dialed in so well that I don't want to screw with it. Like I don't want to try to like tweak it at all because it works really well. But yeah, I do my truncate silence and I normalize all the audio streams and then I start editing.
Well, unfortunately, that kind of automation is actually being weaponized now. Yes.
Weaponized.
Specifically, that sort of audio.
The show keeps coming out, so very weaponized.
That sort of audio detection. There was a complaint this week about a guy who was having an issue with a cop who was not necessarily behaving appropriately. And while filming it, the cop pulled out his phone and started playing Santeria by Sublime.
Okay.
Which meant that once the video this guy was recording got uploaded to anywhere, it would get a copyright strike and be taken down through an automated system.
Interesting. That's interesting.
That's fascinating. And that really happened? Like there's
and actually it appears that it's happened a couple times now that police officers have gotten together and shared this idea that, hey, did you know that if this music is playing while you're arresting somebody, then any recordings of it will be dropped off the internet automatically?
I told you that happened to us, right, Thomas?
What?
Oh, look at you, John. Way to go, bud. That happened to us when we used to, before we had the office. Before we got the office, we used to get the team together and we do breakfast, development sessions, and we frequent this crepe shop.
Right. I forgot about this.
Yeah. And I used my little 3D camera when we first got it, and the crepe owner was very curious about the 3D camera. He was wanting to do it. And I was like, yeah, man, you could stream this to YouTube, and people can see you making crepes, and they can pan around. So I showed him a demo, and I'm trying to share the video, and it happens so fast. I'd gotten home. I didn't do it all there. I think I had gotten home and uploaded it and tried to share the video with him, and he's like, I can't see the video. It's saying that it's not accessible. I'm like, what? And it got copyright strike because there was music playing in the background. It was Jimi Hendrix was playing in the background, and within like 3 or 4 hours, they had taken it down. And I was like,
that technology is just getting faster.
Crazy.
I mean, they're doing it during live streams now, where they're warning a person that they hear copyrighted music and they should probably turn it off.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
This is an interesting thing about the Cyberpunk video game that came out, is they actually have a switch in the options to turn off all the copyrighted music and only use free licensed music in the game so that streamers could play it without worrying about getting takedowns.
That's a fascinating option.
I think it's the first game I've heard of doing it.
And streaming is just so popular now that makes sense. I'm surprised they even put copyrighted music in there because it costs them money, doesn't it?
Well, it's all custom written for the game, but licensing is complicated.
I see.
But yeah, streaming.
Did you see the little video I released? I meant to talk about it last week. I have my little Tinker plugin for Vim now. Did you see this?
No,
you guys didn't see it. I actually released a video. Let me see if I can find it. I think I posted it in Discord. I know I did it on Twitter. But so I use Vim a lot. We've talked about this in the past. Don't need to get into that whole thing. But I have some pretty cool workflows in Vim, one of the things that always would bug me is I have this thing called float term in NeoVim now. One of the coolest little integrations into Vim, and it allows you to bring up basically anything you want and stay inside Vim. So you can bring up a terminal. You can I have that lazy git is how I used to use Fugitive in Vim to manage my Git repos. Now I don't even worry about that. I just bring up lazy git and use that. But the one thing I would bring up a lot because I do Laravel development is Tinker.
Yeah.
And if you're not familiar, Tinker has like a standalone little app, or if you can always bring up Tinker at the command line. My gripe with bringing up Tinker in Vim was that when I got out of Tinker, I would lose that Tinker session. So every time I'd go back into Tinker, it would create a new session, which doesn't sound terrible, but if I'm doing a bunch of debugging, I like to keep that history. Like I like to see what I did. And so I've actually gotten it configured so that when I call Tinker from in Vim, it launches a tmux session, fires up Tinker, and then saves that tmux section. So if I call it again, it'll see if a tmux session exists for Tinker, and if it does, it'll display that. And it's worked fantastically. I'm so happy with it.
I thought you moved back to the
Vim.
PHP Storm.
I do. I bounce back and forth. I mean, like I said, it's just whatever mood strikes me. That it depends on what I'm doing. Like right
That
now,
sounds annoying.
Livewire. Nah, it's not. I've gotten everything mapped so well together now. Livewire, I get frustrated trying to do Livewire in Vim because the plugins aren't intelligent enough to understand what Livewire is and how even Blade Components work. So it won't do the auto completion, won't do the IntelliSense that I get out of PHP Storm. I don't think it's IntelliSense. I think PHP Storm has been coded to understand what Blade components are and what Livewire components are. So I get a lot of intelligence from PHP Storm when I'm doing that stuff. But if I'm just doing just Laravel stuff or PHP stuff, it's I don't know. It's whatever I feel like using it at that time. If I think I'm going to be working with somebody, or I don't know. I can't even tell you what dictates me going back and forth. But I'll find that video. I'll put it in Discord right now. You guys don't have to look at it now, but it's cool, man. I can't even remember where I posted it. I think I posted it on my Diego Dev account. So yeah, I bounce back and forth. I don't know how you. Yeah, I don't know. It's weird. It's like when I'm using Vim, I ask myself, why do I use PHP Storm? This is so perfect. And then I use PHP Storm again. I'm like, all right, I see it. I'll use this. That's fine.
Tom, I see you have a card on yours about dependency hijacking.
Yes.
I happen to have a similar, I'm assuming, article about dependency confusion. I'm wondering if they're referencing basically the same thing.
Well, there was an incident. We'll start with that. A hacker had taken over or had gained access to a number of high priority targets, Apple, Microsoft, and many other companies, by basically going into their package management systems and saying, I have a newer version of this package. This article covers, this is by Packagist, and it sort of covers why Packagist doesn't have this problem. But Ruby, NPM, pip, and gems do have this problem. They don't have a namespace on their packages and don't necessarily have lock files, or at least always follow their lock files. So the issue is that if you said, if the official package was strings 11.1, and you said, hey, I published strings 11.2, then when you went to update your packages, it saw 11.2 and said, hey, that's the newest one, that's the one I want.
Even though it's a different
Even
author.
though it's a different author. Because of configuration issues, because of namespace issues. The article is, the one you're referencing is Dependency Confusion, How I Hacked into Apple, Microsoft, and Dozens of Other Companies. And that's this hacker's breakdown, Alex Beerson, of basically how he took advantage of these trusted chain type systems. It wasn't as straightforward as just dropping in and changing a version number, I don't believe. But
right, he came down to, he's saying something about DNS.
But it definitely highlights problems in the trusted code chain that we all use. Packagist is not as vulnerable to this kind of issue. They released an update that actually always prefers custom repositories. So if you're referencing a custom repository, then it will always use that one, even if there's a newer version on the Packagist repository. The vendor name is a reserved namespace. You cannot overwrite it. So once your company has one package on Packagist, that namespace is yours. You can also use private Packagist, which uses that same methodology where you manually control which packages are approved or not approved, which is a feature I didn't know about. That you can, with private Packagist, you can say, hey, these are the things I use. When there's an update, notify me, but don't automatically let my system update to it. I have to approve them one at a time. That's handy. Because if you've ever done Composer Update, you'll notice it just updates everything that you've got.
Yeah. So the code I'm primarily working on, they don't allow that. It's very, very controlled as far as you're only allowed to update one package at a time. If a composer.lock file comes in and it's crazy, like too many things have changed, it gets kicked back.
That's good. And with Composer 2, they actually allow explicit regular expression-based blocking of things. So you can do all sorts of interesting things. But yeah, these kinds of supply chain attacks, they're becoming more and more and more common. This is a very similar attack that we saw with SolarWinds, where once you're at a low point in the supply chain, it sort of just works itself through the rest of the deployed systems.
Private packages is actually kind of expensive.
Not too surprising.
I don't know what 14 euro works out to in US dollars, but
$17.
14 kind of it's per, is that per user?
Hold on, let me check.
Per sub
Let me check out
repository
my
or user.
fiat money.
$16.98. So you're right on the money there. Literally.
Just pull up Forex, look at the relationship to gold, and then figure it out from there.
Is that all you gotta do?
Simple
Is
stuff.
that simple?
That's
in
crazy.
web dev stuff. Last year, Q4 2019, 7.3% of U.S. subscribers to broadband services used a terabyte a month. this year, 14.1% use a terabyte a month. So the pandemic work from home situation has doubled the number of people who are using over a terabyte a month, which if you're paying the bill for your broadband service, know that that's the highest tier. It's up to a terabyte, and then you have to pay for unlimited.
Yeah, I'm already on unlimited.
Yeah, and we're the type of people who are going to have the unlimited service, but the question comes, how long are they going to price everything at the unlimited service level now? I mean, are they going to have a 2 terabyte service? 2.5% of users do use 2 terabytes a month. So, like, how long are they going to keep screwing us over with the network that we paid for them to build? And this isn't just techie subscribers. This is family use, multiple Netflix streamers in a house, multiple gamers. This high-speed data or high-volume data is becoming more and more ubiquitous. I mean, people aren't buying DVDs anymore. They're downloading Blu-rays, which are 36 gigs a pop. And we're not seeing the ISP markets adjusting for this.
Oh, that's
I was gonna say, I gotta wonder with the cable companies, what happens if I stop taking their broadband? If I stop taking their cable feed, and as more and more people stop taking cable because they're streaming everything, isn't that lightening their pipeline, their data rates already?
Well,
you would think that would make sense because it's all digital, right?
Well, it's all broadcast though, so they can send the same pipe to an area that then it doesn't get split, so it gets to you. So I guess that doesn't really change much. Never mind. Talk myself out of that.
But these ISPs in markets that are completely dominated by a single ISP, even in metropolitan areas, are actually...
So basically everywhere in the U.S.?
Yeah, they're actually going to be running up against some really tough competition soon. Sooner than soon. This year. I'm not sure if you guys have noticed, but Tesla's Starlink program is out there. People are using it.
I have not seen that.
Starlink is Tesla's tens of thousands of tiny satellites internet service. And if you've ever used satellite internet, you know how terrible it is, how latency is upwards of 300 milliseconds, download speeds are terrible, upload speeds are terrible. Starlink just ends that problem. The satellites are in low Earth orbit. They're hundreds of kilometers lower orbit than normal satellites. So your latency times for them are much, much faster. And they're not geosynchronous, which creates this interesting issue. The satellite can't really move fine enough to keep track of a single... the consumer dish, can't move in a fine enough motion to keep track of a satellite zipping across the sky at incredibly high speed. So it's using a military technology where the dish is actually composed of hundreds of small dishes, which are controlled by electrostatic motion to point to like focus the beam anywhere they want within the area of the dish. And I believe right now it's being sold for $200 for the satellite kit, which is pretty cheap.
And what kind of speeds are people getting?
People are getting... Linus Tech Tips did a video, and he was able to stream 4 4K YouTube videos simultaneously and was getting 60 millisecond ping times while gaming. So it's a straight up. I mean, I believe he was somewhat over 100 megabit per second, like 130 megabit per second, which easily qualifies at broadband. And this is deployable international, anywhere in the world. You just turn the dish on, it finds the satellites, locks in on it, and you have broadband access. So
I want to look into that just
I
out of
know,
my own
I mean,
curiosity.
$200 like isn't actually that much to like just play with it. Naturally, there's availability issues because it's a beta product right now, and I believe they have 7,000 satellites up in the sky right now, and their goal is 32,000 satellites. And there's a lot of cool design stuff in the satellites too. The satellites are designed to have a lifespan where they burn up in entry to the atmosphere once their use is cut short. But they also
5.
they're using the magnetic thrust vectoring technology that like 10 years ago was totally fictional, and now it's just like in spacecraft.
So for me, it'd be $500 for the hardware, $100 a month for service.
Yeah, which if you were in a van driving around the country, like, yeah, done deal.
Mm-hmm.
And it's fast enough for Netflix, YouTube, gaming, business, like all that stuff. It's really cool.
Ah, crap! I could get internet out when I go camping. Sold.
That'll make the wife happy. She'll be real thrilled. They'll
It'll
do
make the
that.
kids quiet, which makes the wife happy.
No,
That's
we're
true.
not a screen
that's
time
great.
family, so
I
that
forgot.
doesn't work quite the same way.
He's better. He's better people than that, Thomas.
No, not necessarily. It's just we do, when the kids do have screen time, it's a friggin' nightmare 2 seconds afterwards. Even though before it's like, hey, we're gonna watch this, and then afterwards we're going to brush our teeth or get ready for bed or whatever. As soon as that TV goes off, nightmare. What a pain in the
Jen,
butt.
you've had this card on your Trello board for a while. I'm really curious about why. I want to know if there's a story behind it. The paste bin.
No, I want to show my age again real quick. Going back to satellites, I remember being in college and having a friend trying to run a BBS, and supposedly had a satellite in his house to run his BBS. Like, that's crazy.
And it's not the small. This isn't the
forget-
Dish Network satellite. This is the like 8-foot diameter.
Yeah,
yard
the huge
killer.
one. Yeah, I put this card on there, and I kept meaning to go look at actual data because I remember using Pastebin years ago, and I guess it's no longer a thing, but Laravel's brought it back, and I believe open sourced it, but you can now do it at paste.laravel.io.
How's that different than a gist?
I do not know. That's why I haven't brought it up. It's been on my Trello board, but I haven't done anything with it.
It has a default Laravel installation, so you can actually use all the Laravel helpers, references, things like that. You can build a model in Pastebin and then reference the mutators and accessors and stuff. So it's
What?
But
it's a Laravel specific thing.
does it actually run your code or anything, right?
I don't see how.
Yeah, it's not, I don't know what you mean. It's got all of those
I believe
things.
that it actually does execute your code.
Oh, it's got a secret dark mode down in the bottom.
Yeah,
You go to the bottom.
I stumbled onto that. Yeah,
I did not know that.
it can't execute your code.
You
no,
can't
come
handle the
on.
truth.
So you're saying if I type it,
But it's not doing.
I mean, there's
any
nothing
sort
to
of
say
validation.
run.
Not necessarily run, but it's not even doing validation. I can't. It's not. There's no autocomplete or anything. So I don't know what you're talking about.
I mean, it's not even highlighting code for me right now. Do I have to do the PHP symbol?
I tried that. It's broken. That show's broken. So
It's not. Yeah, I don't see what this is.
yeah, I don't know what it's supposed to do. It just gives you a UUI. It gives you a UID to share some. So it is like you said. It's a gist
Okay, so
UUID.
I know we're running late. I have one of my kids works for Trans Support Family, and their role is as a counselor. Their focus is youths who are going through transitions. My mind's blinking. Anyways, I am constantly getting called out for assuming genders.
Yeah, you shouldn't do
And
that.
it's one of the whatever, man. I'm an old man. I'm trying, but you know, I have particular issues, but whatever. However, please don't cancel me for relating these two, but I feel like I got a sense of what that's like. I wish people would stop assuming what my ID data type is, because every time I download a package and it tries to reference an ID data type for me, it always assumes I'm doing an init. And it's so frustrating.
An init or an integer?
I don't know.
I'm sorry, integer. It's so. I spent the. So I'm working on something I want to show you, John. It's just
those are not
internal.
equatable at all.
It's just
That will be
internal.
removed from the podcast.
But it turns out that Nova. I guess Nova's doing. It's not event sourcing, but it's doing some sort of logging now of actions. I think that's actually what the table's called, like action list. And it grabs your model type and your model ID. And makes perfect sense. It's not doing any sort of foreign key restraints or anything. So just make the model ID a string and make it a string long enough for UUID. So if people are using inits, it'll take that. If people are using UUIDs, it'll take that. I said it again, integer. If people are using integers, it'll take that. And then what other package I use? Oh, the one I was asking you about, Thomas, the state machine. I think John actually replied to me. I'm like, hey, didn't we talk about state machines or
when
something?
We were talking about, you had confused the enums with the state machine thing.
Right. Because I wanted to have a state machine in this admin interface I was developing for DAO Dev. So I found this package, and it's doing the exact same thing. When states change, it grabs the model of the state, or the model that the state's related to, and that model ID. And it does the same thing. Every time I include a package now, I have to go in there and account for the fact that I'm using UUIDs. The good thing about it is I haven't run into a scenario yet where the fact that I'm using a UUID breaks the package. But I don't know, man. It's like
how does it not break the package?
Because it doesn't care. It just wants to know the ID of the model. Because it's
so you change you have to change the table for it to work. Is that what you
right?
mean?
Yeah, I just write another migration to update the column type. But what was I about to say there?
So
but
that
I
would
almost
work
broke down
up until the fact, and it would break if they had type hints on there.
That's true. It breaks. Yeah, type hints. It would also break if they were doing some sort of key restraint, maybe. I'm not even sure if that would break, to be honest with you.
No, foreign keys.
Yeah, you're right though. If somebody were to put if they were to do type hints on that, you're absolutely right, John. That would break it. But I almost broke down in doing this. I'm like, I forget it. I give up. I'm not using UIDs as my primary ID anymore. I'll just use the inits, and then I'll the integer. I'll just use the integer, and then I'll create a UUID table. And I'll know that a true ID is a UUID, but I'll let the database, have the primary ID. And I started to write the migration. And I'm like, no, fuck that. I'm fixing this. I'm right there wrong. I'm doing it my way. And
Yeah,
I did it in Vim, and it was for Livewire. What?
it would be easy enough to have another column. So do your primary key, auto increment, that's used for all that, but have the UUID that you actually pass out and show to people.
Yeah, so the reason I stopped doing it, and again, this is still, you can still accommodate this, but it started coming down to relationships. I'm like, okay, well now, if I do a relationship, I want to do the relationship based on the UUID, because that's the whole point of having the UUID, because I can move it to another data store, blah blah blah. So now when I do my relationship, I've got to customize and say, okay, the relationship is based on this, this as the ID. And I just, it just started snowballing from there. So I'm just like, I'll take the 10 minutes, and if my writing a migration to change it doesn't work, I just won't use the package, because I didn't have to use the package. I mean, Nova would have kind of shot me in the foot, because I'm using Nova to shortcut a lot of my forums right now. But the state machines, I've written state machines myself, so I would have been fine just having to recode that myself. But yeah, UUIDs, man, people need to get on board. Don't assume you know what my ID column type is.
While you were going on that rant, you mentioned event sourcing, which reminded me of something I learned yesterday or today. Have you used AWS Cloudtrail?
I don't think so.
It's another
Basically,
stupid AWS service with a stupid name.
No, it's not a stupid service,
okay,
actually.
Another great AWS service with a stupid name. You could give me 100 guesses and I would get it wrong.
It's basically event sourcing everything within AWS, so you can tell when people do things. But it goes a step further and says, not only when you change things, but when somebody has viewed something. So you can go in there and say, Eric viewed a list of EC2 instances.
Oh, wow.
So we had an incident recently where one of PhoneBurner's PBX servers couldn't talk to the web server. We're like, what? Like, how did this happen? And it turned out that somebody that looks for fraud that blocklists IP addresses via a security group or through the web application firewall saw this IP address in a report somewhere and just added it. And we're like, how, why, what happened, when? And I was able to find it through CloudTrail, and then I saw what this service does, and it's crazy.
Did you find it after the fact, or did you guys already have it enabled?
It was already enabled.
Oh, somebody, we had that problem with another client, John.
Yeah.
Recently, where it stopped communicating with the database. It's like, wait, what happened? Why can't it talk to the database anymore? And we had to do a big scramble. Never did figure that one out.
I never did look at. So there's separate pricing for it. I don't know what it means.
Speaking of pricing,
35 cents for 100,000 writes.
Speaking of pricing.
Good. Speaking of pricing.
Thanks to our Patreons.
Thank you, Patreon.
Thank you, patrons of Patreon.
This is the wrong list, but I love you all.
Not even close.
That's because Thomas's computer crashed.
Hard. Very hard.
Something else.
I believe.
If only you had a backup service on that thing and you kept your machine backed up.
People who are on this list requested specifically not to be.
So you're allowed to take it off the screen then? Just saying.
We'll fix that for the next show.
Okay.
A whole show without talking about Argus. What happened there?
What's Argus?
What happened there? I think I'm gonna break down. Tom turned on me last week. I think I'm gonna cut back the free trial to 2 weeks, to 14 days.
That would make sense.
I agree with that.
If you wanted to cover like all possible use cases, then like an annual first trial would make more sense, or like a quarterly.
All right, smartass. Whatever, smartass. I've already said I agree with you guys. I'm going to cut it back.
So to make it clear, Eric has managed to talk about Vim and Livewire, squeezing Livewire just under the wire.
Yep.
You did.
Did I?
And we've got Argus.
No,
so I think
if you want 45 free trial
45-day
Argus,
free trial
for Argus, you have till Sunday.
he's not saying
I'm gonna
Sunday.
update it. I'm gonna update
Sunday.
it. I'm gonna update it for around Sunday, Monday. I don't know.
2027.
It did feel good to see those initial emails of, hey, you have a paying customer. I'm like, thank
money.
you. Yeah. And the people at Diego Dev, I'm not talking correctly. The people at Diego Dev did take note of John's commitment to give everybody a year's salary when we make our first $10 million on Argus. So they're all very excited. And I think that's it. I think that's all I
did
have.
say 10 million in profit in a single year, right? That's how it worked out.
You're adding all sorts of all sorts of caveats to that. Jeez. 10 million profit. That would be tough.
So
yeah.
Next week, I imagine we'll be talking about the fallout from having been listed on JetBrains' monthly report, and
I'm sure TMZ is going to be following us on the streets now. We're going to be so
Eric
popular.
Will be canceled.
I will. I'm planning ahead of time of getting canceled here because I actually may be bailing on you guys next week. Have to go back to Arizona, and it looks like we're going to leave Thursday for that. My mother sold her house. She's moving to Oklahoma. Yep.
Wait, what?
Yeah.
Where did that come from?
Oklahoma.
Well, it was. We've all been talking about kind of heading to northern Texas, the Dallas Fort Worth area. That's where my nephew is. That's my sister's kid. And so we've all kind of started saying, okay, well, let's see if we can't get the family back together. And my mother and sister were looking at that, and they discovered that they could get more property in Oklahoma, which is it's like a 2-hour drive from Dallas. So they're still close enough to my sister's kids, and
but not too close. We're close enough.
It's an important measure with grandchildren.
I mean, I drive 6 hours now to go out there on the weekends and do house stuff. So the nephew can drive 2 hours and do. It's just like driving up to LA from here. But I'm like, hey, there's no calling me saying you need me out there. It's gonna take some time to get out there, so you guys know.
You can stop by here in Colorado Springs, and we can play some pool, drink some beers.
No? Can I? I don't think so. I think you're out of the way. No, it would definitely not be a direct route.
Very lonely.
It would probably triple my route. But I do want to get out to Colorado. I'll be totally honest with you, Thomas. I'm going to, when this pandemic's over, I'm just going to start going places. I don't know. I don't know.
When this pandemic is over, literally nothing will change for me.
Yeah. Man, we were doing some good traveling there. We had gone up to Vancouver, to Washington State. We'd gone on a cruise. We were starting to move around a little bit, and yeah, I'll be happy to start going places again.
You were also looking at moving, and that seems to have gone by the wayside.
Not to the wayside. Yeah, you're absolutely right. I mean, literally, when the pandemic broke out, we had made plans. That same nephew in Fort Worth, we had made plans with them to stay with them for a month to look at houses, and that was happening. I mean, it was no. That's what we're doing. We're gonna go out there for a month. We're gonna find a house. We're gonna buy a house. We're gonna move to Fort Worth, and then that's when the pandemic hit, and we're like, okay, let's let this blow over first. Let's see how long this takes, and then a year later. But it's starting to pick up again now. The wife gets to pick. I have say, but I told her, I don't care. You pick. I picked San Diego. You wherever you want to go, we'll go.
All things we tell ourselves.
No, I'm cool with it. I love adventure. I'll go anywhere. My only caveat to her was this needs to be the last move. Like, this is the last time I'm moving. So,
and one of your other caveats, because the loophole has been closed on that, needing high-speed internet, because you can just get Starlink, it sounds like.
Apparently, Starlink's, yeah, I can move to the middle of Nebraska now. It's not even an issue. I can get Starlink, do one of the Dakotas, I'm sure. So, all right, I think that's it. I feel like we have run long enough. Where are we at? 125. It took us about 20 minutes to even get going, so I think we're right at 1 hour mark.
No, you didn't start Zencaster till just before we went live.
There you go.
Have that going while we... Yeah, I agree.
All right, I think that's it. Episode 223. Thanks for hanging out with us. Thanks for listening. I'm Eric.
I'm John.
I'm Tom. Don't buy Dogecoin.
Keep it ugly.
Keep it ugly. I wasn't sure if Keep It Ugly was even going to come up, and there it is. You're impressing me.
And hit the play button.
Hit the play. Uh-oh.
Play button?
Uh-oh.
Our outro. God.
Hey,
amateurs at this. Amateurs, I tell you.
I created an outro video too, didn't I?
Yeah, he's trying to get it, I think.
No. He's never used it. He wasn't happy with outro.
Oh.
And
I forgot where.
Files are missing from the audio, and we don't have the outro video. I will play the intro video again.
That's awesome.
1, 2, 1, 2. Coming off the top, y'all know how we do. Listen, I'ma drop a freestyle you can cherish. I'ma send a shout out to the host named Eric. Yo, he's never on some average shit. You know Eric, he stays loud and passionate. I'm about to break it down for y'all with the clever song. Yo, shout the host named Thomas, cause he's never wrong. Yo, shout to John, you know that he's smart and quiet, unlike my freestyles, which cause a riot. I'm about to do it like this, cause the people love me. Shouts out to PHP, the ugly. It's called ugly cause it's not professional, but I'm about to come through and bless it with style. So let's do it when I'm spitting, I perfume the room. Yo, the segment of the show is called Doom and Gloom. That came from Thomas. Yeah, can nobody go beyond this? I get the mic and then I'm about to keep it like a promise. Yeah, and y'all know we fill them up with anguish. We talking about the PHP, the programming language. About to break it down, no exaggeration. What do y'all do for a living? Web applications. Okay, I can dig it. My words spray tight. They getting together on the Thursday nights. Yeah, when it comes to rhyming, you can call me the new dude. I spew true lyrics while y'all broadcast on YouTube. So let's get it. You know my lyrics are major. All up in the comments, they got plenty of haters, but they doing what they doing. Keep it ugly. We ending every show with the saying it's lovely. Let's go.
I would be okay if we did another one of those, John.
I was actually just thinking about that.
Hey, can you get up?
Say hi. Say meow. Say meow. Your levels are all wrong.
Oh, kitty.
Oh, there you go. Oh boy, what have I done? I have to tell you though, it is really nice having a smooth system. I forgot what a change from a spinning disc to SSD is.
SSD.
It's so good.
But
Yeah.
but it's so much nicer to do it at your own terms, not because your
That's
system
not how I
dies.
live my life. You know me well enough. Everything I do is at the terms of immediate urgency. Yeah.
Chaos.
I'm trying to figure out what's going on with my mouse. This is driving me.
I'll share with you my
bonkers.
little project tomorrow, John, if you're interested.
What
It's
about
that. I said I'll share it with you tomorrow. I'm wanting to put together a. I've been tinkering with a little admin app for a while, but when we were talking about playbooks, I'm like, God, I can build something for playbooks. I'm going to build something for playbooks. So that's kind of what I'm doing.
Isn't there like a 100 things out there already for it though?
There has to be. I can't see how there aren't, but I'm going to do it better.
There we go. I can make it look like Eric's stream is delayed.
Why would you do that?
This is the newest version of OBS, which I haven't been running because I just didn't want to update it. But it's got some nice stuff.
So you had to reinstall your plugins or what?
Yeah, and I'm still like missing a couple of them that automate which scenes use which transitions.
Mm-hmm.
But I kind of don't need that anymore. That stinger transition I had doesn't really have much use anymore. Yeah, no, but like I said, it took 45 minutes to get back up to a totally functional state, like for work.
So, did you not restore from a backup? Did you not have a backup system
Clean
running?
install.
Spider Oak, man, get yourself a little Spider Oak. It'll make you happy.
It's a Windows machine. Use something like Carbonite.
Well, okay, so the version of Windows that I was running was actually a very old pirated version.
95?
No, it was Windows 10. It was before they had figured out all of the issues with pirating Windows 10. So I needed to do like.
You're a goddamn professional, man. Why are you doing that?
Well, now it's an official version. But like it had like small issues that were just a pain in the ass, but it's all fixed now. It's like, and it's a 0.5 terabyte SSD for like I think $60. That thing's screaming.
You're like, why didn't I do this a year ago?
My hash rates are.
I saw the crossover on WandaVision. Thomas, is that the only good thing, or is there more good things?
Well, okay, so
don't spoil it because I haven't watched it and I want to.
But my theory is that WandaVision is actually leading into, like, WandaVision is season 1 of the Marvel TV shows, and Loki is going to be season 2, and like Love and Thunder is going to be season 3, and America vs. Winter Soldier is going to be season 4. So I think it's actually one story that's going to go across all the characters. So I think honestly, I think it's going to be like a 25-hour movie at the end of it.
Those first two shows were hard to watch, man.
The first two are real slow. The second one is like it starts to pick up, or the third one it starts to pick up. The fourth one is when they basically introduce the rest of the world, and they start to explain stuff. And Darcy shows up, and she's awesome and hilarious.
Yeah, I saw she made an appearance. I'm like, oh, I almost want to watch it because of that.
She's totally worth it. Like, it's worth watching the show just because of her. She's hilarious. But then they're starting to really like bear down on important story elements. The end of the last episode was a rough turn. really, there's a lot of emotional stuff going on.
I'm gonna see if I
Alright.
can resume this print.
I'm gonna see if updating my mouse drivers fixes my mouse buttons.
Does what are you printing? Can you tell? Can you say?
It's just a little heart-shaped jewelry holder, like ring and jewelry holder.
So how do you get these things? Like, are you just downloading templates or something?
Yeah, Thingiverse, my 3D print. Yeah,
Thingiverse.
Yeah.
That's right. I forgot about that.
there's a bunch of them.
Yeah.
The 3D printing stuff is like mostly trinkets until you learn how to design stuff on your own. Do you have a micrometer yet?
I don't. Yeah,
It's like that's item number 1.
you talking about
Yeah.
you talking about a caliper? Yeah, I actually
That's,
just got
the
here
thing
today.
you need is because
I don't think these are trinkets, Thomas. These are functional little things that you have here.
There's a lot of trinkets, but there are some very functional things on there too.
And there's a lot of stuff where, like, if you know the model number of your vacuum, you can print replacement parts. But, like, if someone had the same problem.
I need you to print me something, John. I lost a little piece on the dog's wheelchair. It's just a little cap that goes on the end, but I bet you I could grab the other one off, and I don't know what you need to print another one.
You basically...
Skill, which I don't have.
It's not really hard. It's just tedious.
So,
I don't think I've installed it yet. I'm gonna try running. Oh no, I did install FreeCAD. I was gonna try that so that I didn't have to install Windows anywhere. But everyone's saying use Fusion 360 on Windows.
Yeah, and
I tried to install Table Plus. I tried to install the Windows version of Table Plus. What's up? With wine on my Linux machine, and it just bombed. I mean, it didn't bomb. It actually started installing, and then it hung and just wouldn't move forward. So I gave up on it.
I gotta figure out this mouse problem. This is gonna be a real nightmare.
These things are so cool, man. Oh, that's awesome. You can print that?
You tried looking at a 3D printing a gun yet?
No.
Why would you 3D print a gun?
It's
Doesn't
the
make
designs
sense.
for AR-15 lowers are actually getting to the point where they're functional.
No. Don't really need a gun in my
That's
house.
what I always said, and then I lived in Hicksville, USA, and now if I don't have a gun, I'm an idiot.
Yeah.
January 6th, man.
These are cool.
Shit was scary. You guys watching the trial at all?
I'm watching it nonstop. I can't stop
His
watching it.
lawyers are
That's what I'm saying.
Oh,
But he's
oh!
still
Did you
gonna
hear what
get a
happened
pass.
today?
Whoa,
Yeah,
No,
did you hear what happened today? So the Senate, they're supposed to be the jurors, right? They're supposed to be impartial jurors listening to it. 3 Republicans, including Lindsey Graham, 3 or 4 Republicans met with Trump's attorneys to coach them on how they need to do their closing argument. And it's like, that's got to be a fucking conflict of interest. They can't
but
do
they
that.
Don't care anymore.
They half the Republicans aren't even watching the trial. They're just reading
Well, I guess
papers
there was-
and
I guess there
texting
was like
on their
a
phone.
big secret meeting with a bunch of high-level Republicans talking about forming their own party to try and get away from Trump.
Yeah, let's see if that happens. You know, it's a no-win situation. If they do that, then they're splitting their user base, right? They're only hurting each other by doing that. I mean, it's like the whole Ross Perot thing all over again. It's like Ross Perot never had a chance to win. But what he did do is he took enough votes away from the Republicans so that they couldn't win.
God, he should have. You know, I keep thinking about Ross Perot and how different things would have been just in general if he'd have won. If he had gone up against Bush instead of against Clinton.
Mm-hmm.
That picked up flawlessly. That was awesome.
Did it really?
Yeah.
So it doesn't warm up or anything. It just starts printing.
No, it warms up.
Oh no, it warmed up. Yeah.
What's the little screen back there? Is that part of the machine or is that your phone?
Yeah, it's part of the machine. It came with it.
Oh, okay.
So from my computer, I can transfer via Wi-Fi over to this thing, and then say, go ahead and start. I can start, pause, control the machine from there.
Sounds good.
So it sounds loud. It sounds loud here, but is it actually loud, or do you?
Oh, it's
it
loud.
is.
You don't use
Okay.
any infill. When it's doing infill, that thing is a kazoo. Because right now he's going in circles and straight lines. When you start dealing with stuff like infill on solid objects, where it like has to add structural strength, it's going zzz, it's hitting all three axes at once. But
Very cool
that
stuff.
noise is
man.
actually good
Very
because
cool.
stepper motors have a very particular sound to them, and that means that it's working correctly. Is that heated bed?
Yeah. Yep.
Just doing PLA right now.
Tis.
Yeah, it's
All right,
Yep.
you let me know when you get your little casing, because I want some etching done, man. I want Diego Dev D's on everything.
I started looking into it, so
I
gonna
can
wait for that
imagine
thing, though.
Changes are a pain in the
Ah.
ass.
no, it's 4 screws.
You don't have to re-level.
That I don't know. I haven't gotten that far.
It's not automatic leveling, is it?
It's auto calibration up till the very end,
The piece
and
of
then
paper trick?
you can micro change it. Yeah. So it did it did 8 or 9 spots around, and then in the center you manually
Okay,
calibrate.
That's not bad. Yeah, and that was what? That was like
Right.
Yeah,
1300?
I don't know.
I don't know.
I've
Anymore.
got one of my Thingiverse things to print is a dust shoe to go over the CNC so that I can hook a vacuum up to it.
And a really good cooling fan funnel shroud, a cooling fan shroud, is like super important for print speed and for layer quality and bridging distance. You start when I got mine, I probably spent a month and a half, 2 months just printing test prints. Like all I made was tests, just trying to optimize the thing. And once
Dude, this Thingiverse is addictive. Just going through this thing, it's like Pinterest all over again.
Yeah. And the sad part is that's only one of the sites.
that's the only one I ever used.
I think
Don't tell me anymore.
No, I've downloaded from a couple of sites.
What software are you using for G-code?
Luban.
Switch from that quickly.
It's made
Yeah,
for
that
this
doesn't-
machine.
that
Snapmaker
doesn't matter.
Luban.
You use that if you absolutely have to, but the Prusa version of starts with C.
Yeah, I saw it.
That software is way more advanced, has way more infill options, way more performance tuning stuff. All the stuff that's machine specific is eventually garbage. Like it's good for your first few prints, for a couple benchies, but then like when you want to get speed when you want to get speed out of your prints, or you want to start doing like extended bridges. Well, I mean, just like I said, if you change the cooling shroud for your parts, then that software is no longer valid because it has an expected cooling speed.
You got me. I don't know. I know I can change a bunch of things, but I haven't gone into any sort of research into what to
It's a bottomless
change.
hole. You'll have fun. All right. Thank you everybody for watching. I'm gonna end the stream now. Thank you, Buttery. Thank you, Frank. I'm sure. Claims Con
Yeah.
on Periscope.
Everybody else that listens to.
El Gimbo. Thank you very much.
I'm gonna have to review the airplane.
And hopefully I'll have all the missing scenes fixed and replaced next week.